Happy full moon. This is a special one for me, to be honest. This is my full moon. This is a Scorpio full moon ruled by Mars and Aries. This is Taurus season. This is Uranus just went into Gemini, which signaled a 7-year change. We previously had Uranus in Taurus. Now, what does this mean? What are these words? So Uranus, if you know about Greek mythology, was the father of the Titans. This is basically the sky. The god of the sky. And what does it mean when we talk about astrology, when we talk about actual significance and impact? This is change, this is innovation, technology. This is kind of overseeing the way society functions. What is the undercurrent? Okay, I'm coming closer to you. She wants to say hi. When we move from something as steady as Taurus into something as rapid, accelerated, almost like a little bit manic. Like Gemini and Virgo give the undertone of mania because they're ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is air, it is rapid, it is quick, it is think of Hermes, right? So this is something that doesn't necessarily abide to the rules of the earth. This is something that is more ethereal, almost bordering ethereal. So when you're looking at a sign such as Gemini that is ruled by something that is more airy, that is more, limerent, that is here and that is there, that is one foot in this world, one foot in the other, then you also have to recognize that this is kind of changing the way that we are operating. We are beginning to rapidly change the way we're thinking about social systems, structures, zooming out of the social context and repositioning operational systems. So let's say briefly, with all of that mumbo jumbo said, the way we are thinking about the way we live is rapidly changing, extremely rapidly. And what does it have to do with a full moon that is in Scorpio? So past week I was in the Sahara Desert, and I was alone, might I add, because I somehow was split off from the friends that I went with, which is like a story that I'll get into another time. But what that really had me do is clean out everything. And I think that Scorpio is something that is inherently connected to the psyche, the 12th house, the 8th house, even though the 12th is more Pisces. But when you have signs that are in water, this is cleansing, this is purifying, this is something that almost is sacred and holy. So when you have a sign that is like Scorpio, this is ruled by Pluto, god of the underworld. Also, it's ruled by Mars. You can argue here when it was ruled by what planet, what it's ruled by today. I like to say that it's ruled by both, but because it's equal part fiery Mars, which is also the ruler of this full moon. So you got a lot of fire. And Mars is action, initiation, movement. This is how you act in the world. And then you have Pluto, which is this god of the underworld. That's not easy to digest. And that is extremely purifying, destructive, but also Scorpio's gonna get the job done. It's kind of like, for me, it's Hyder Ackerman coming into Tom Ford, getting the job done. Flawless, beautiful collection. Did you see the silhouettes? Yes, he referred to Tom Ford, but in a way that is so forward. I don't know how else to describe it. But it's like sometimes you have these designers come in and it is confusing because sometimes you deal with legacy, and in a way you need to maintain a legacy while writing your own, while bringing in house codes, and somewhere along the way you lose the plot. And I think he came in and had a very clean cut He just cut through the noise, and I think that's also what you need to do in this time. I was watching one of my favorite like Instagram philosophers, which is such a funny term, but he was talking about how hate is this noise that surrounds you, and you have to follow the signal and only follow the signal. Because if you tap into the noise, then it's just engulfing and you forget. We need to come in like Hyder Ackerman, and we need to understand where we've been, but also know that the only way is forward. In press covering the show, he says Tom Ford is nightlife, I'm the morning after. I think above all else, Scorpio is a sign of transformation. As much as it is fixed and it's stubborn and it's direct, but I think when you're working with such volatility, where you're working with this intuition that goes beyond logic, but works with logic, because I think we forget that you can both be intuitive and logical. You can be creative and analytical. I think it's so easy and it's convenient for people to just categorize you and assume that you are nothing else. There's this vastness with this full moon, but you need to be precise. And I think similarly to me being in the desert, where I felt this complete clearing, and I also felt this direction and this internal pull to what I actually had to focus on. And it's a very specific time. You know, it's something that comes in, it gives you the message, and it leaves. And I think that there is no show with Scorpio. There can be, but I don't think with this full moon. I think it's a very aggressively directed. The full moon ruler is Mars in Aries. So there's a lot of force, but that Pluto, that Scorpio gives it, that scorpion tail gives it that sting. We got the fire, but now we have the little, where are you gonna sting? Where are you gonna go? Do you need to sting, or are you reserving it? Sometimes it's better to reserve that and go back and reset, right? I think Scorpio also works a lot with water. It's a water sign. People forget that. They think it's fire all the time. They're like, oh yeah, that's a fire sign. I'm like, no, it's water. And I think that there's something very purifying about the absoluteness of what a Scorpio is, of what a Scorpio full moon is, because you're really working with like the ethereal and the physical, right? This is a sign that has intuition like probably no other sign. Pisces maybe because it's ruled by the 12th house, but you know, let yourself just take a bath, right? Feel into the turmoil, because sometimes the turmoil is loud because there's just something at the very edge that wants to be heard, right? It's like in that movie Soul, where the souls are so bombarded with noise and this like black sand, when, you know, all they needed to do was they just needed one thing to remember, but then they got clouded and, you know, they got filled, and then they got noisy, and then they forgot. And I think we forget that sometimes so many problems, so much confusion arises from one thing. Sometimes when there's something I'm angry at in my life and I don't address it, I'll get flare-ups and I'll get stomach pain. And I wonder, I'm like, why am I going through so much pain? And it's because I didn't say one thing to one person. I didn't communicate one boundary. I didn't decide to do one thing. You know, I didn't get like an extra hour of sleep. And it's crazy that these subtleties have tremendous impact. And I want you to remember that when you step foot in the world and you don't think you're doing enough, Scorpio is like, no, that one step, the one sting, the one word, that's enough. This is not a full moon of overdoing it. This is a full moon of intending. This is a full moon in knowing. This is a full moon in discerning. This is a full moon in boundaries, because that's what Scorpio is.